War, in simple terms, can be identified as organized, armed, and often long-lasting conflict carried out between states, nations, or other parties. Traditional military strategy has been rooted in physical force, expansion, and the winner-takes-all mentality. This paradigm, however, is becoming increasingly obsolete. The war in the Middle East is a clear testament to the urgent need for a shift towards peace and understanding. The concept of «beyond war» embodies this transformative shift. It calls for the transition from reliance on force and aggression to that of mutual understanding, unity, and cooperation. To illustrate the need for this shift, we draw upon the axis shift diagram of love shift, a concept that posits the power of relationships over the archaic notion of war. The fundamental principle of love shift is relationship, an interaction or bond formed between two or more entities, be they individuals, groups, or nations. This principle recognizes the essential interconnectedness of all things. This interconnectedness implies that we are not isolated actors but part of an interconnected network that spans across the globe. In this network, the damage caused to one node impacts the entire system. In the era of globalization and Internet, this principle has more relevance than ever. The principle of love shift, in its essence, not only reinforces why all war is obsolete, but it also presents relationship as the only reliable resource for security in the world today. Wars are typically the result of a belief in separation, the idea of us versus them. These misconceived notions have been a significant cause of conflicts and wars throughout history. Today, however, it is increasingly apparent that this separatist mentality is not only damaging but obsolete. Love shift posits that survival can no longer be seen in terms of power, territory, or wealth, but through the bonds we forge with each other. This is what is referred to as reciprocal survival. Reciprocal survival acknowledges that our wellness and survival hinge on the wellness and survival of others. In essence, it is a manifestation of the old adage, we are only as strong as our weakest link. What makes war obsolete is the critical realization that the world is no longer a zero-sum game where one's gain is invariably another's loss. Our survival and prosperity rely not on defeating each other but on collaborating and coexisting. Now, let's delve deeper into the many ways that the power of relationship makes all war obsolete. Firstly, relationship engenders understanding. This means going beyond mere coexistence to truly understanding and appreciating one another's values, beliefs, and cultures. This understanding engenders respect and trust. These are vital foundations for any prosperous relationship. They are also powerful antidotes to fear and suspicion, the key drivers of wars and conflicts. Relationships promote dialogue. Communication provides an avenue for the peaceful resolution of conflicts and prevents misunderstandings from escalating into full-blown wars. Relationships also foster empathy, highlighting our common humanity and promoting kinder, compassionate responses. This makes the concept of inflicting harm on others for personal or national gain untenable. Further, relationships encourage cooperation and collaboration. Together, we can address shared problems and threats far more effectively than anyone can alone. Central to love shift is the notion that relationships make nations interdependent. Such interdependence makes the idea of waging war on another country counterproductive and essentially self-defeating. Through the establishment of strong relationships, nations can encourage the sharing of resources instead of fighting for control over them. Also, relationships bolster economic ties among nations. Economic interdependence reduces competition and economic disparities, further eliminating reasons for war. At the heart of strong relationships is the embodiment of peace and respect for human dignity. Such values negate the perceived necessity of war, thus transforming the lingering war culture into a culture of peace. Lastly, as a guiding principle, relationships and reciprocal survival foster a more inclusive world where the idea of going to war becomes fundamentally incompatible with a shared vision of global well-being and prosperity. This is especially critical considering current global issues such as climate change, pandemics, and economic inequality. These are not challenges that can be won through wars but require multilateral cooperation and unified action. This means that for our survival and prosperity, we must move beyond war. We need to promote a culture that values relationships over power struggles, cooperation over competition, and shared prosperity over personal gain. As we enter a pivotal moment in human history, induced by challenges like the ongoing 20 wars and the existence of 15,000 nuclear weapons, it has never been more crucial to shift away from this war paradigm. We must rebuild our world based on the principles of beyond war, love shift, and reciprocal survival. Doing so, we will not only create a safer, more compassionate world but also ensure the survival of our species. The principle that all war is obsolete isn't wishful thinking, it is rapidly becoming the only feasible approach to the global challenges that we face today. Relationship, as renowned peace activists and thinkers have stressed, is not just a lofty ideal. It is a tangible, viable, and essential path towards a more peaceful and prosperous world. Indeed, we are on the precipice of a new age, one in which the unity of humanity is not simply a hopeful rhetoric but an absolute necessity. A world beyond war isn't just a dream, it is an imperative for our survival. To embrace this new paradigm involves adopting the principle of reciprocal survival, emphasizing the power of relationships, and recognizing the fundamental truth that in this interconnected world, all war is obsolete. The reassurance of this conclusion is further validated when we consider this: peace is not merely the absence of war, but a condition brought about through justice, understanding, and the nurturing of relationships. Achieving this peace does not imply complacency or passivity. On the contrary, it requires active participation from global citizens, peace activists, and government leaders to continually strive for a world beyond war and rooted in love shift principles. Therefore, let us endeavor to instill these principles in our personal lives, educational systems, social structures, and government policies. It is only through collective will that we can turn this dream into reality. Recognize the futility of wars. Recognize our shared responsibility. Recognize that our survival and prosperity hinge on our commitment to a just, compassionate, and interconnected world. Let us move beyond war because, indeed, all war is obsolete. Therefore, let us reiterate that the only reliable resource for security in the world today is relationship. Let us embrace this paradigm where our survival depends on each other and not on the number of weapons we possess or the territory we control. Let us reject the outdated and destructive narratives of us versus them, and replace them with a powerful new narrative that says, we are all in this together. The challenge, of course, is immense. Yet, the rewards, a world of peace, unity, understanding, and cooperation, are undoubtedly worth the effort, and indeed, necessary for our survival. Encountering such discussions, we can't help but ponder and marvel at how diligently humanity has tried to evolve from a warlike history to promote peace. But we must not stop there. We must continually strive for a world without wars, a world that thrives on cooperation, empathy, and understanding. We need not look far for proof that such a world is possible. Whenever disaster strikes, we often see a tremendous outpouring of love, support, and unity from people all around the world. The capacity for such solidarity, compassion, and collective action is in each of us. What we need to do, and must do, is tap into this untapped potential and channel it into creating the world we all desire and deserve. Remember that our shared vision, our common dream, is a world beyond war, a world built on love, unity, and relationships. It is not a mere dream but an objective, a purpose, a plan. By embracing Love Shift, we embrace a world beyond war, a world that recognizes and cherishes the interconnectedness of all beings. We must therefore acknowledge and reiterate, beyond war and love shift aren't mere words, but principles of peace and coexistence we aspire towards. The ongoing conflicts and threats to global peace make their adoption more crucial than ever. Our collective survival depends on accepting the principle that all war is obsolete. Let's establish relationships as our primary mode of operation, replacing conflict with understanding and cooperation. In conclusion, we need to realize the implications of a world beyond war through the love shift principle. Understanding that all war is obsolete is the first, vital step toward making lasting peace a reality. Through the power of relationship and reciprocal survival, we can work together to eradicate the relics of conflict and build a global community bound by shared goals, respect, and peace. The stakes couldn't be higher. Our very survival depends on it.